So yeah, the Vedas are our sources of knowledge and inspiration and truth, really. And very few people have such a source. They this is absolute truth, absolute knowledge, and very few people have that. Everything is relative truth, and laced with opinions and agendas, and I think this and I believe that, and it was true before, but now it's not true because it's different time and place and circumstance, and so like the books that we had in school, if you went back and read those same books from my era, back in 19
18, no.
1800 and something, no. Yeah. How old? 6 in 49, I probably started school, 1949. So anyway, and you went right through the curriculum, and if you read the books then, especially the science books, the physics and so on like that, it wouldn't even be relevant now, or it would be different. You'd be getting different information now than you got then.
Exactly.
That was true as far as they knew, but now, that's not true any longer because this has been discovered and this has been figured out and whatever.
Yeah.
So that's the truth of this world, And so we have a different platform of truth called absolute truth, which is always true. It's not fluctuating according to the material fluctuation. It's absolutely always true. It's just like, relative truth is, okay, I'm a kid. I'm 5 years old. I'm a kid.
Mm-hmm.
But come back in 20 years. Okay, I'm 25 years. I'm not a kid. But wait a minute, you just told me you were a kid. No, I'm not a kid. And then you come back in another 25 years. Oh, I'm in middle age.
It's sort of like a temporary situation or label or
I'm a redhead, but you come back in 50 years and I got no hair. And on and on. In other words, all this stuff changes.
Right.
It's always changing. That's why you got to have a new picture every time you get a new passport or you get a new driver's license. They don't take the old one. They want the current one. Because in most cases, you don't even look like you did before.
Yeah.
And that's just about the body, but everything. The curriculum in school now is different than it was when I went to school. And everything has become so radicalized and so racial oriented. It's like all clouded with all these, agendas and strong feelings on team spirit and division between this and this and this.
Exactly.
The rules of conduct when I, in a male body, was taught and relate to, souls in female bodies, there was a social etiquette, a rule of conduct of how you treated, them. The women were treated with greater respect. And, if you walked down the street with a girl, you had to walk on the outside near the street to protect her from any mud or water or whatever that might be splashed up from the street. And you opened the doors and, the motto was women first. And all that's changed now. Those norms, which were normal, everybody was taught that, have been, eliminated. And if you do those things, it's like you're an offender almost.
Exactly. You're like that's true. Because you're putting them in a situation where, like, I guess they have to. I guess they have to feel like, or you make them feel like they are not independent. Maybe something like that. Like they're dependent
maybe
on
you make them feel like they're weaker or they're
yeah.
or you're different than us. Males are the protectors and females are the protected. And, whatever. There's all kinds of, thoughts on that subject that makes it taboo. That's not cool anymore. It's like, but it's the old system. It's always been the best system. It was based on spiritual principles. Society as a whole was based more on spiritual principles and respect and, care for and protecting those other ones that you had under your control, or let's say your responsibility was to protect them.
And it makes perfect sense if you accept and you fully live in a consciousness where you see people as spirit souls and you appreciate and treat everyone as that, appreciating their intrinsic value as a spirit soul. That's what you're seeing. That's what you're like.
Yeah.
It's not the outer.
Yeah. It says in Bhagavad Gita that the sage sees with equal vision a kind and learned brahmana, that's the priestly class, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater. Many different bodies, many different levels of positions in the material world, but he sees spirit soul. He doesn't see all these different bodies, and that's true vision. I mean, that's real vision. Here's a soul in a brahmana body, and here's a soul in a elephant body, and here's a soul, in a dog body, and here's a soul in a dog eater body, from very different positions materially, but equal spiritually.
Yeah.
And that's how it needs to be. Then you don't have all that division.
Exactly.
You see, it's like everybody has their position according to their consciousness and their abilities and so on. It's called the Varnashram system in the Vedic society. And, this is a system developed by the Supreme Lord. This is not, man did not create that system. See, it was given to man. This is the societal system that should be adhered to get the best results in society. And in every position a person may be in society, there's respect, there's honor. They all have their different duties to perform, their responsibilities, to uphold. Just like every part in a car is not equal, In one sense, it's all equal. It's part of the car that makes the whole thing run. But the engine has a special place. The transmission is completely another category. The tires have their place. The steering wheel, the seats, but when they all work together, you've got a working unit that works very well.
Yeah.
You see, but when one of those, doesn't cooperate, let's say, with the other ones, then you just got a mess. You got chaos.
So it doesn't mean that they're less important. It's just they have different roles.
Yeah, they're not less important. Everybody's important. They got all this stuff going on. Well, this group of people is more important than this group. And if you even question that, then you're an offender. You're a bigot, you're a racist, you're whatever label they throw at you. And all it does is just create all this enmity between everybody and, this division and this conflict. And I mean, who can deny that this is true? It's, where's all this coming from? And it's just tearing the social fabric apart. There's hatred building up more and more and more, when people used to cooperate, and now they don't. Like in India, before British rule, for hundreds and hundreds of years, there's been Muslims and Hindus.
Yeah.
And, often they were living in the villages together. They were neighbors. And, each one respected the other one's beliefs and faiths and spiritual practices and etc. And they were friends. They cooperated together in whatever ways they did. They often invited each other to their homes, for, socializing, dinner, festivals, whatever. And it was fine. There was no problem. And then when the British came in, they created a lot of conflict. You see, to make it so, oh, you're Muslim and you're Hindu, and therefore, there's a division here, and
Exactly.
This is good and this is bad, and they created all this stuff of agenda, of course.
But exactly. What they instated was like kind of like this is better than the other one, and that's what like is sowing a seed that is just like corrupting the whole system.
Yeah, yeah. And so then it became all these conflicts, and all this religious fervor, and whatever. So anyway, that's back to the original topic, is we have absolute truth, which takes us beyond this. And that's what we need to become educated in. And that's the whole purpose of this Vedic knowledge, is to educate us so we can see with absolute vision, not all this temporary vision that changes all the time. And, we have a platform, of truth to stand on, so we can look at any given situation and, see it from that angle of understanding,
And
oh, this is right or this is wrong, because in this Vedic teaching, this point is made, this is the truth, this is how it should be seen, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not whimsical.
Well, there was a lady coming to our class, and I just thought it was an interesting example. We had a wisdom evening where we were speaking about the wisdom of yoga and this Vedic teaching that you're referring to. And this one lady afterwards, she was a bit skeptical, and during way, she didn't really accept the fact we tried to present that you're not your body, and she felt that was difficult for her to accept. So we spoke about it, and she was still not. So on her way, out the door, we were talking with her and another guy, and she was still like, well, I kind of it doesn't make sense to me. I'm still, I should, I'm still my body, but so she couldn't really accept that. But then another guy came in and he said, well, look at it this way. And he was another person just joining our class, by the way. He's a very, very nice guy. And he said, so I kind of see it like this way, here's like the doormat of this meditation center, and you can see it like this podcast. When you're stepping in here, it's like, okay, maybe I dare to leave my old perspective aside, and I'm now gonna see things from the Vedic perspective, and so I'm just gonna accept that. I'm gonna be open-minded and sort of, but accept that teaching for now, be open-minded, and then take it from there, but sort of that attitude.
Yeah, great.
And I was like, wow, yeah.
And don't worry, when you go back out the door, your old perspective will still be there. It's not going to run away. And if you want, you can pick it back up and continue on. You didn't lose anything.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the point.
It's not like you lost it. It's like it's still there, and now you have something to compare it to. And maybe right now, your old perspective is still very strong, but later something might happen in your life, and the new perspective, which you heard tonight, may become more and more relevant to you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're saying. We're not saying you got to accept anything, but maybe somewhere down the line, if you don't accept it now, you're going to say, well, that makes sense now. It didn't make sense then, but now it does. And this is something that's important to me now.
Yeah.
And that's freedom.
Exactly. And that's still it's not a one-time thing. For me, that's still how it is. There are certain things that I maybe understand partially, and and then I take whatever I understand partially and I apply that in my life. But going back and listening to lectures or previous things that I've heard from my spiritual teachers before, I realize new things, and I can take in new things because my understanding has changed, my development has changed. I guess.
Yeah.
Gradual.
Yeah.
That's-
So yeah, it's we're not saying ever, oh, you have to blindly accept, but we're also, saying, well, don't blindly reject either.
mm,
There's two sides to that coin. We're not
Yeah.
promoting blind acceptance, but we're also not promoting blind rejection. Because neither one of those is good. But blindness is no good. Whether it's one side or the other side is not good. Mm. Keep your eyes open, and, again, more and more. And, in the material world, people try to basically see with the eyes, the material eyes,
Mm,
But in the Vedic system, there's also the encouragement to try to see more and more with the eyes of knowledge. See, the eyes of wisdom. And that's a better vision. But you can't have that unless you got that vision, unless you got that wisdom. And so, again, it's a choice. Do we want it or not? I don't want to know. That's okay. No problem.